You should have stayed at the party, Maxine. Hello, I'm Brian Capron, and I played a character called Richard Hillman in Coronation Street.
What are you going to do, Richard? You said you wouldn't hurt us!
It's them lot out there that want to hurt us.
It was great. It was a lovely experience. They've written a very clever scene, I have to say. They've thought very hard about it, and they've come up trumps, and hopefully me and Helen, have pulled off the scene.
What do you want?
Hello, Gail.
Well, it's difficult sometimes. I thought it depended on how they were going to do it, because it's obviously a very tricky thing to bring back a character. But as I say, I think the writers have thought very, very carefully about how to do it. So for me, it's got the right kind of dark humour about it, which was always had about Richard Hillman, which I loved. There was always this dark humour about it, but also a slight hint of menace. And I thought they balanced it perfectly. Well, I've known Helen since she was 18, and I first met her at a leaving party at London Weekend Television, and then I was in Coronation Street as a social worker during the 80s, and so I've known Helen off and on. So when we first got together, it was nice because we kind of knew each other, and that really helped with the relationship. So I think we have a special relationship because the Hillman storyline worked out so beautifully, partly because I think of the way we played it, and what I wanted to do was I'd never wanted him to look like he was a really, really bad, horrible person. So I built this relationship. I knew that everybody would think he'd be a dodgy guy, so I worked very hard, and we worked very hard on making it a very loving relationship. And the fact that he loved her and the children, and then went to the dark side from that. So that gave a lot of dimension to the character, and thanks to Helen. And we had a two-handed scene, a two-handed episode once, when the kids just came in for a very small amount of time. And that's the kind of accolade, for actors in a soap, and she played it superbly. And hats off to her, and hats off to surviving for 50 years. So it was great just to be back with her today. Oh, well, that's tricky. I mean, of course, I suppose it has to be "You should have stayed at the party, Maxine," which I wanted to do like "You should have stayed at the party, Maxine." But,
You should have stayed at the party, Maxine.
that's a bit. There's a lot of good lines associated with the character, but I think her line to me, Norman Bates with a briefcase, was inspired. That's an inspired bit of writing.
You're twisted. You're Norman Bates with a briefcase.
There's so many wonderful moments that I had, so many exciting pieces and scenes. Obviously the whole canal stunt was amazing. I loved doing that. That was a fabulous send-off. But I think the two-handed scene that we did together, to do a half hour straight off, and I remember we were around the whole first half without stopping, and the atmosphere on set when Richard Hillman really confesses everything was absolutely wonderful, and that was a lovely two-handed scene between me and her, and I think that was some of our best work together anyway.
I love you! You're Norman Bates with a briefcase.